Hey, I'm Bob. I've been totally blind since birth and I'm into Power Rangers. We just got done talking about Gung Ho. Titanus was introduced in that episode, so I wanted to describe how I went about combining Megazord, Dragonzord, and Titanus into the Ultrazord back in the 90s. I'm talking about the old Bandai toys. I don't own said toys anymore, but I still remember how to transform and combine pretty much everything up through, I believe it's Power Rangers in space. Anywho, it's still ingrained into my tactile memory, and it's kind of fun to revisit doing that. Hopefully, one of these days we'll get a Titanus and a Dragonzord in Hasbro's Zord Ascension project, so I'll be able to relive these moments. So, you would take your Megazord, or at least I would. I'm just kind of going through the steps as to how I would do it. I'd take my Megazord shoulders. He was already in Megazord mode at the time, and I would push them down similar to the way you would begin transforming your Megazord hands back into the Mastodon Dinozord. And then I would take either horn on either side of Megazord's head. I'd push those to the back of the head. And I would bring Megazord's arms down to his sides. That makes sense. So he was just kind of standing there ready to go. Then I would take Titanus. I would open Titanus's back right up. And then I would take the armored chest piece off of the front of Titanus. I would take either claw off of Titanus's sides. I would remove Titanus's tail and, split that into two to create the two cannons. I'd set all these pieces aside for the time being. Then I would take that front portion of Titanus and I would flip what used to be his chest out and down. So he looked as if he had this new wheel assembly there on the front of him. So that was ready to go. Then I took my Dragonzord and I detached the tail. I split Dragonzord right down the middle. The chest piece would come right out, that big ginormous chest piece that he had in the middle of him. And I would set the tail of Dragonzord and the chest piece of Dragonzord aside. Then I how to describe this? Basically had to have Dragonzord doing this insane contortionist version of the splits. You had to really just split them in half, and you brought these little shoulder clips that were on either side of Dragonzord down, and then you took the whole Dragonzord combination and draped it over your Megazord, who was standing there waiting in the wings. By the way, once you had formed Dragonzord into this kind of cowl, his former arms, they would kind of look like these shoulder-mounted missile launchers. Or that's how I used to think of them anyway. So once you had Dragonzord draped over Megazord, well, he looked as if he was wearing Dragonzord armor. You had Megazord's arms down to his side. I'd kind of raise them up though after I was, done forming the Mega Dragonzord, and so it looked as if Megazord had these Dragonzord feet draped over either of his shoulders to kind of go with that dragon armor look, I guess. So then you'd start, mixing and matching parts, I guess. So you took that chest piece that was on Titanus, you'd snap that onto the front of Megazord's chest. Then you take Titanus's claws and you would put those on either of Megazord's hands. It looked like Megazord had these big, giant claw gloves on, And then you took Dragonzord's tail, plugged that into the back of Titanus where his tail used to be. I don't remember if I mentioned connecting Titanus's former tail parts to him, but yeah, you took those two tail pieces that were now ginormous cannons, and you plug those onto either side of Titanus. And so it looked like he had those big cannons in the front. Then you took Dragonzord's chest piece and you snapped that into the front portion of Titanus. And once you did that, I think two additional wheels would come down and click right into place once you had Dragonzord's chest piece snapped there into the front. So then you just put your Mega Dragonzord into Titanus, and you had your Ultrazord ready to go. I remember the Titanus in the 90s was motorized, of course, so you could just push a little button lever thing down and he would start to roll. And, you know, when he was in Ultrazord mode, those cannons would go up and down on either side of him. So it really looked cool from what I imagine anyway. So yeah, I don't really know how to go about it in a more show accurate way of transforming him. I think that was just how the transformation process was shown to me when I was doing it for the first time. I think I would vary it sometimes because, you know, you could just kind of form your Ultrazord in whatever step you wanted. It really wasn't a difficult process at all once you got it down. That was, I think, one of the easiest Zord combinations for me. Actually, all of them were from the old Dinozord battle system, or Ultrazord battle system, if you want to quote the old 90s Bandai toy commercials. So that's pretty much it. I like that Titanus came with this this chain and these little harness pieces that you could attach to your Triceratops and Saber-toothed Tigers, so you could have them, at least I think that's how they were shown on the box. You would put the chain over Titanus's tail to kind of have him lugging your Triceratops and Saber-toothed Tiger on either side of him. At least I think that's what I would do. Since Billy didn't have those chains that could come out of his Triceratops Zord, I would kind of use Titanus's chain to do those that little chain maneuver that he did on a couple of monsters there with the Triceratops horns. I would kind of use Titanus, his chain as the little chain for Billy's Zord sometimes during play when I was a kid. That was kind of cool. And you could also use this chain that came with Titanus, and you could actually have Megazord and Titanus. I think that's how the box showed him or something like that. Or maybe it was Mega Dragonzord without Titanus's claws or chest piece on. So you could take that chain and have Megazord holding it in his hand, and then you could have the other end attached to Titanus, as if Megazord were kind of treating Titanus like this beast of burden or something. I never used that combination that much, but kind of liked all the different configurations you could do. And sometimes I would put Tyrannosaurus in Titanus, you know, just to kind of have him riding in there. Several, you know, weird little combinations I would come up with. Of course, you couldn't fit Dragonzord into Titanus when you had him opened up as a carrier, but man, that was a fun Zord combination to do. All of these were. I can't wait to get into the Thunder Zords when we start talking about Season 2. Anywho, that'll do for this video. Hopefully it wasn't too long, and I will hear you guys in the next Power Rangers related video. Have a great day, and may the power protect you.
Right, this pause video recording.